This week's sponsor is Anchor.fm. In our experience as podcasters, Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great, and they'll distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. If you're interested in monetizing your podcast, Anchor sets you up with sponsors with no minimum listenership. What could be easier than that? Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome to the Plus Ultra My Hero Academia podcast. I'm your host, DJ Grand. Joining me is the number one authority on My Hero, Autumn.
Hi.
And Ryan, our co-host producer.
School's in session.
Ding, ding. Today we'll continue on with our review, and we'll start with episode 4. It's called Start Line. Just before the practical test of the UA entrance exam begins, all the participants stand in awe over the sheer size of the training field. Then Midoriya notices Ochako, the girl who had saved him from falling earlier, and wants to talk to her, but he is stopped by fellow participant Tenya Ida. It is Ida, right? Ida. Tenya had yelled at him earlier to stop muttering in the auditorium. Tenya warns Midoriya not to distract Ochako while everyone else talks about how they've already counted him out of passing the exam. At that point, I think Ida was kind of rude and overbearing.
He's a little straightforward, I would say.
Maybe he wanted to ask her for a date. Anyways, the exam suddenly begins and everyone rushes inside the test area, leaving Midoriya behind. He follows closely behind, but is halted when an enemy robot with 1 point attacks him. He is saved by Oyama, Belly Laser, who uses his naval laser to destroy the robot before moving on to others. Midoriya scrambles around the area looking for robots to destroy, but finds that the vast majority have been taken out by other participants. Elsewhere, the panel of UA judges discusses what it takes to pass the exam, including speed, strength, and a calm mind, which means it should sit there and meditate.
Yeah, there's some people that have powers like that, where it's like, what would you do in that situation?
Nothing wrong with a calm mind.
That's true.
As the test comes to an end, Midoriya finds himself sitting at 0 points when a giant robot worth 0 points appears. Everyone flees in panic, while Midoriya is paralyzed with fear. The robot smashes a few buildings and traps Ochako underneath the debris. As the robot moves closer, it threatens to crush the girl. Seeing the girl who helped him earlier in danger is enough to get Midoriya up and rushing to her aid. Filled with the adrenaline, Midoriya conjures the power of One for All and uses it to leap high into the air and deliver a powerful smash to destroy the robot. All the other participants watch in awe, while a panel of UA judges praise Midoriya for his self-sacrifice. Having used One for All for the first time, Midoriya begins to feel the physical repercussions of this new quirk. His legs and right arm are broken from his efforts. He free falls from the air and tries to use One for All to make a safe landing, but is saved by Ochako before he hits the ground. The practical test is then declared over, much to Midoriya's displeasure as he blacks out. The other participants comment on Midoriya's quirk, calling him incredible, wondering if he was intentionally looking weak to fool them. Tenya is the only one to notice that his heroism, and even questions if Midoriya recognized saving others may have played a part in the exam all along. Midoriya falls unconscious, but the school nurse and pro-hero recovery girl arrives to heal his injuries with a big kiss.
Yeah, smooth.
A grandmother kiss. 1 week later, Midoriya receives his examination results, and after not talking to All Might during that time, he expects to fail. The school sent the aforementioned results via a holographic message inside an envelope, with All Might delivering the news. All Might apologizes for not contacting Midoriya earlier and announces that he will be a new teacher at UA High. All Might explains that although Midoriya did fine on the written test, he still scored 0 points on the practical, upsetting Midoriya. All Might continues, showing him a video of Ochako asking President Mike to give her points to Midoriya because he saved her. All Might explains that the judges were looking for more than just defeating enemies. The judges rewarded rescue points for his heroic deeds during the test. Midoriya scores 60 rescue points, giving him more than enough to pass the exam. So, Autumn, what do you think of episode 4?
I don't know. It's kind of before everything else happens. So it's like kind of the introduction still.
Yeah, they're laying the groundwork for the test.
Yeah, it's just the robot smashing part. I mean, that's the whole point of that episode. And I mean, I guess getting over the exam too. But I think that's like the first time. I know it's when he first uses, One for All and all that. But it's kind of cool because you can see that it's like the first time they show technically like full crown, because it like goes through his leg and like into his arm and all that, like through his body, which he does later. And as it goes on, it's like he doesn't use that for so long, like his whole body and stuff like that. So
full cowl, isn't that when he has to use his feet? Am I right about that?
Cowl, crown. I forgot which one it's called.
It's like, yeah, it's when it goes through all his body.
Yeah, okay. Like that's like how he uses it now, since he can control it better. So it's like, obviously when he did it this time, it backfired.
Well, he has no control right now. He's young and learning, a young Padawan.
Yeah, and
still learning, and that makes total sense. I thought it was kind of corny. It was kind of Harry Potter like how I reward you extra points at the end.
Yeah.
Doesn't it sound exactly like what Dumbledore did in Harry Potter?
It's almost like even if he did something just, especially like being just how the characters are, it's like if he like held the door open for her, she might have been like, hey, you can have some of my points, like even for how big of like, and I know it happened all so fast, but it's like, couldn't she just have tapped the stones off? I mean, that didn't make
true.
sense.
She could have did to her. She could have saved herself. That's absolutely true.
I guess they're trying to make it look like, it's like happening in 2 seconds, you know what I mean? But
I guess you have to think fast. Maybe that she wasn't.
But her timing of her getting, saving Midoriya from falling to his death is like, I'm like, that's pretty impressive to just slap somebody out of the air and use your powers.
Did she get any rescue points? Because she did save him.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
she did.
I think that's because she had so many and like it like worked out,
So we need to talk about one concept before we move on to the next episode, and it's self-sacrifice. He says that he got points for self-sacrifice. That's bull crap. He didn't sacrifice a thing. A sacrifice, by definition, is giving up a greater value for a lesser value. He did not think Uravity, was a lesser value. He thought Uravity was a greater value.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a sacrifice in any way of the proper definition of sacrifice. He was doing it based on his values. Now I see people define sacrifice in such a inverted way that it's just, I want to make it clear that he wasn't sacrificing a thing. He was doing things based on his values.
So he was just being heroic instead of...
Well, the fact that you can do this, you can talk about this the same in the way in the last podcast, we talked about how he went after Bakugo. In the ethics of emergencies are different than just when you can sit around and think about ethics and right and wrong and what to do. In an emergency, they have to be already ingrained in you because you don't have time to sit there and do the thinker and what am I going to do? No, you have to react immediately, and what you react on is those values that are already in you, that you've already automated into yourself. And that's what he was doing, because he already saw her as a value. And I really think he was going to go up there and try and talk to her on that little high school type, boy-girl thing. I truly believe that's a part of it. I thought he's a little bit too shy.
Yeah.
But still, the point is that it wasn't a sacrifice at all. What he was doing was right aligned with his value, that she was a high value to him, and he wanted to save her.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get that.
So I just want to get that out of the way before we go any further.
Sacrifice just sounds so much more, dramatic.
But yet, I see sacrifice for the most part as evil. Because like I said, a sacrifice is when you give up a lesser value for a greater value. Okay, that would be evil. To give up a lesser value for a greater value, you invert your value system. A good example: you have a daughter. You have $10. You can either buy yourself a new video game, or at least part of one.
Man, put me on the spot here.
Or you can buy your daughter some milk. Which would you do?
I mean, the milk, of course.
Of course. And that is not a sacrifice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you are, even though you're losing out on your game that you really value too, your daughter is a higher value. Okay, to do that is not a sacrifice in any way whatsoever in the proper defined term of what a sacrifice is.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying here?
But isn't like this is going, I don't know if I'm saying the right way, but like the hero's journey and stuff, isn't sacrifice in that to be a hero? How does that like, I just, when you said it's evil, that's where I'm like, isn't like, I mean, maybe it's neutral.
Look at how I defined it.
Yeah.
It's evil to give up a greater value for a lesser one. Okay. And I don't think heroes do that.
Yeah.
True heroes, like in this case, Midoriya, he wasn't giving up a greater value. He was keeping the greater value, Uravity. That was a greater value to him than any points whatsoever, than the exam. And all those were high values to him because he really wants to win. He wants to do good for his mother. He wants to do good for why can't I think?
All Might.
All Might, yes. I can't believe I had that little.
He's right there. How'd you forgive me?
But anyways, yes, he wanted to do good for him. Those were high values to him. Yet Uravity is an even higher value. And there's no sacrifice in that.
Well, what about himself, though? I mean, he could have died.
But if he also, once again, if he, looking at your daughter, if you have no food, and you could die.
Yeah.
And would you rather give it to your daughter or would you keep it for yourself? And you had one little bit of food left.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the airplane thing where, it's like you should, I mean, maybe that's different, but it's like, yeah, maybe if I give her the food so she can obviously keep going, but if I die, she'll probably not live at this stage. If we're talking about like, in my situation, but
no, at that point,
so it might be a bad
we
sacrifice.
can't talk about the future because we don't know what the future may hold.
Yeah, but that point
at that point, it wouldn't be a sacrifice at all for you to give up your food for her.
Okay.
I mean, because she is a higher value.
Yeah.
Even though you have to live too, and you are a high value, your daughter is a higher value.
Yeah.
And that is aligned with the hierarchy of values. I mean, all value judgments are a hierarchy. Some are higher than others. And when you give up a higher value for a lower value, that is a sacrifice, and that's what I'm calling evil. And Midoriya was not doing that in any way whatsoever. He was standing up for what was right, what he valued, the highest value. And I don't even think he looked at it at the time that he might die.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't.
Not at all. He didn't know his arm was going to get hurt and his legs were going to get hurt.
That didn't even come into the equation. Once again, in the ethics of emergencies, it can't. Okay, but even so, even if he would have died, I'm willing to bet you Midoriya would have said it would have been worth it to save Uravity.
Yeah, I agree. That's true.
So therefore, I just want to make it clear that self-sacrifice is not an ideal. In fact, I think self-sacrifice is an evil. You should never, ever self-sacrifice. Now, that being said, you have to have your values aligned properly.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't do that because they don't know what a value judgment is. So.
See, look, in this episode where we thought there was nothing, there's a lot more.
No, there is. Philosophy's in everything.
Yeah.
And literally, it's in those little nook and crannies.
For sure.
I mean, a value is something you want to gain or keep. A virtue is the action you take to gain or keep it.
Yeah.
So what he was doing was virtuous in the sense that he was acting to save the value.
Yeah, I think that's why everyone when they saw it were like so blown away by his actions more than, because they all were like, I would have done that.
Well, that and I think they were surprised that this weak crybaby was probably the strongest in the class.
Yeah.
No matter what Bakugo says.
True. No, that's a good point.
So anything else before we move on to episode 5? You guys have anything else to say?
I always think it's gross when they show like that episode they don't do it as much anymore, but it's like whenever they show Midoriya's like lifeless limbs after he's obviously doesn't get to that point much now, but man, this doesn't look good. It's just like flapping everywhere.
Well, actually, the really gross part, they actually showed, or at least the aftermath of when he swallowed All Might's hair.
Oh,
remember
yeah,
that?
I forget.
That was even more gross.
Yeah.
How could you do that?
That's funny. Yeah.
So I guess there we go, hierarchy of grossness.
Yeah.
I would
Good
call
point.
that.
Yeah,
Then you had a
that's
good second though.
And then you could even say when his when he was regenerated too. That was kind of gross, but
And it was also the grandma kiss was kind of
yeah,
gross too.
yeah. All in one.
It's true. I'm surprised they don't reject that. No.
Well, I don't think he had much of a choice.
Well, I think he was out. So
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
he didn't. Hey, you got anything to say on it? Anything to add?
No.
Just be all quiet. Okay. Moving on to episode 5, What I Can Do for Now. Following the practical test for the entrance exam, the judges panel reviews student scores. They take care to notice that Bakugo scored the most points, but without a single rescue point. Ah, yes. Where's his values? Meanwhile, Midoriya didn't score a single combat point. Midoriya meets All Might at Tokuba Municipal Beach Park. Is that how you pronounce that? Tokuba?
I think so.
Sounds right.
Yeah, sounds right.
Well, I'm not Japanese. I really don't. This is where I stumble. Where All Might congratulates Midoriya for being accepted in the UA high school personally. All Might then tells Midoriya that he will have to keep adjusting to the one for all using the image of an egg in the microwave as a basis. And where All Might also rats himself out. He complains to Midoriya for, shh, keep it down. And then he goes and gets All Might on him, and then he rats himself out.
Yeah, that's people on the
on the pier.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's great.
Come April, the UA academic year begins, and Midoriya prepares to leave when his mother stops him and wishes him good luck. Midoriya eventually arrives at Class 1A, hoping that perhaps Bakugo and Tenya aren't in his class, but these hopes are immediately dashed when he finds them both arguing inside. Tenya notices Midoriya introduce himself properly. Then Uravity arrives and does the same while praising Midoriya for saving her. Bakugo notices and recalls how he confronted Midoriya after passing the test and tried to bully Midoriya for getting into UA, thinking he must have cheated without having a quirk. Midoriya stands up to him for the first time. Ochako is interrupted when Shota Azawa arrives and reveals himself to the class as their homeroom teacher in a cocoon. Didn't it look like he was like a...
Yeah, it's like one of those like really intense camping bags.
Yes.
You can like sleep in a mountain and stuff like that.
Get some sleep before you come to class. He doesn't waste any time and hands out PE clothes to the students and leads them to the PE fields. Aizawa explains that the class will participate in a quirk apprehension test and will test their quirks since they were not able to use their quirks in middle school. Aizawa uses Bakugo as an example. Bakugo only threw for 64 meters in middle school, but after using his quirk, Bakugo proceeds to throw over 700 meters. At first, the students are excited to participate, but Aizawa quickly shuts them down and announces that the student who ranks last in total points will be deemed hopeless and immediately expelled. The class is shocked by this announcement, and Ochako declares that the rule is unfair. Aizawa replies that the world is unfair and it's a hero's job to combat that unfairness. While the quirk apprehension test begins, All Might worries that Aizawa will single out Midoriya because almost immediately and goes to watch in person. The test is composed of students competing in a series of physical tests. During the trials, every student uses their quirks to excel, while Midoriya struggles since he can only use once for all at 100% or not at all. Bakugo does well with each test, thanks to his versatility and his quirk. Versatility of his quirk. The class reaches the pitching test, and Midoriya realizes that this is the only test left where he can show off his abilities to avoid getting expelled. He tries to use his quirk to throw the ball, but it fails. Aizawa reveals his own quirk and ability to erase other people's quirks. Midoriya recognizes him as the eraser hero, Eraserhead. Eraserhead explains he erased Midoriya's quirk because of the severe drawback. He continues to say Midoriya's quirk will make him a liability and that he has no place at the school. Midoriya is given one more throw, leaving him with a choice to either use all for one and fail the other test or not to use
One
it.
for all.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. One for all.
He's not evil.
No, it's not the evil one.
I misread it.
I didn't catch it. So.
Okay, and fail other tests and not use it and fail this one. Taking Izawa's advice into account, Midoriya throws the pitch, and the last second he concentrates one for all through his fingertip. The explosive throw gives Midoriya a high score and impresses not only his classmates but his teacher and All Might as well. Except it didn't impress Bakugo too much. Okay, so what do you guys think of episode 5? Autumn?
Well, okay, so when he said like the expulsion thing, he was like the last person is gonna expel whatever, that he kind of played it off after that is like, oh yeah, it was just to get everyone motivated, but like he would have expelled them. Like he had like 2 previous classes and he expelled them all because he thought they weren't good enough.
Wow.
That's a dictator.
Yeah. He's very intense.
Well, it actually says a lot about Midoriya and what happened because, and I think Eraser too, Izawa, because Izawa noticed that he did concentrate it in that finger and he did come through. And I think that had he not done that, I think he actually would have expelled Midoriya.
Yeah.
And it was the fact that he saw the potential of him just able to do that from the tip of his finger and therefore let him go. And I think he changed his mind at that point saying, yeah, it was just all bull crap. You guys are all safe.
Yeah, it's funny how much like pressure he puts on him just from like day one. You know, it's like you're gonna be kicked out even after all the stuff that happens, and it's just like for him using his power and all that. So he's such a great character. It's such a good like introduction to him too. So,
he seems like a very harsh teacher.
Yeah,
I had a few of them growing up, so I know what that's like, especially in Catholic school. It shows is that Eraserhead actually isn't just, maybe he started out biased against Midoriya, but then at least it shows that he's able to see values.
Yeah.
And he's able to say, no, this kid has potential, that he's not here, and if he continues to progress, he can actually do something.
He probably just woke up on the wrong side of the sleeping bag or something. So.
That reminds me of ZZ Top, Slip Inside My Sleeping Bag.
There you go. There he has a theme song now. So.
Yes, he does. Yes.
I still don't get how he uses his bandages, because it's like, is that part of his power?
No.
Well, it stopped Bakugo, so it has to have some kind of power to it.
No, I just pulled him back, and then he used his quirk at the same time.
Didn't he also? Okay, no, you're absolutely right. But didn't he also say it was some kind of carbon fiber or something?
Yeah, it was something he could show. Like, even there's like the notebook that came out with like info. It's like Midoriya's point of view. He like wrote about it and was like, I have no idea how this works.
Yeah.
I was like, I have no idea.
Well, now you know.
I do like in the beginning of the show that they do refer to a lot of like Midoriya's notes and all that, and like even though he like doesn't have it a lot, he'll just always bring up, he's like, I wrote about this, and like if it's just like a past thing, because that's like how that's kind of like his first power, is he's just so knowledgeable of just like heroes in general.
Stop nerding out.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, it's great. No, actually, knowledge is a great thing, and it showed that he is more than just body. He's mind and body, and we've talked about that before, maybe on your podcast, where you take both. You can't have just one.
Yeah,
and you need both, and that's what a true hero is. And I actually think that's where Bakugo is failing. He's all body and very little mind.
Yeah.
Well, he has mind.
As of right now, he's 100% emotion and not rational, especially when it comes to Midoriya. As of now in the story, because he's jealous of Midoriya in a way, because Midoriya got in and infuriates him, and
he's not supposed to be there.
Yes, exactly. And he was supposed to be the only representative coming from his middle school, and it turns out there was 2, and that also kind of pisses off Bakugo.
Oh, for sure.
That is an emotional reaction. That is not a rational reaction, and that's what I mean, that he's not really a mind and body combo as much as Midoriya's at that point. I mean, I'm sure all the other ones are that way. I mean, Tenya. I mean, we have to go in the future, but when he goes in the battle, I think it was Stain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like one of his big fights.
Yeah, he was emotion then. He wasn't
because
fully formed. And I can expect this from high schoolers. I mean, all kids, they don't know yet, and that's how it should be. You need experience.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying the point is, as of right now, I think Midoriya is the most complete by being both mind and body. I mean, do you guys see any other one else that's non-pro and amateur?
Everybody's just going by the books more or less, and they're it's not like good or bad or anything, but they're not really, at least that you can see at this time, because you like basically just like oversee all the other characters. No one's really, besides like Ida and Gravity Girl and all that. It's
Gravity.
Like, Gravity. It's like those are the people that actually get some lines and like some storytelling into their character. But
it's a little early to delve into it just yet,
Yeah.
but still, it's something I think it needs to be stated from the get-go that is the complete hero, both mind and body, not just body. And do you think All Might possessed both mind and body?
yeah, I mean, I think to get to his spot, he had to.
Okay. Yes, no, I think he did too. I think sometimes he was a little conceited about it, saying,
Yeah, he had like the ultimate power, so.
Well, it's just that every time you're safe because I am here.
Yeah.
That kind of, aren't you a little conceited there?
But I think with a lot of those are for maybe smaller, just, obviously easy things for him, like, just small, like it's like any of the big parts of his story and all that, like with All for One and that whole backstory. It's like those are probably where you actually see his like true value of it being who he actually is and stuff.
We talked about Autumn and I when we were watching that. Do you think that who do you think he would have given his hair to?
Beast.
Inherited. Get it? Who do
that
you
should
think?
be the first episode. Like the name of it. Yeah.
Who would? Yeah, you're right. It should have been. Who do you think would have gone and had Midoriya not come into the picture?
That's a good question. I mean, it's like, I don't know. There's so many like what ifs, because it's like he wouldn't have gave it to Bakugo. I mean, and then I don't know. I don't know if he would have. Like, I think he would have just kept waiting. I mean, I guess it.
No, he didn't have much time. He's running out of time, so he had to find someone. I think that's what kind of motivates him to give it to. And also, he's seeing Midoriya in action, but that also motivates him to this is the right one. This is the right one at the right time.
Yeah.
What do you think, Autumn?
Miria.
Yeah, Lemillion.
Yeah, that's it. I was like, man, I always forget, even though we just talked about that last episode. But, I mean, yeah, we don't know of him right now, but, I mean, I guess that makes sense. He was the next one in line before Midoriya.
I would have to say only be based on, what was his pro teacher's, Lemillion's?
Sir Night Eye?
Yeah, Night Eye. Only because Night Eye... And
their history
and we'll talk
and all
about this later on when we come across that episode. But still, only because of what he says about him being the number 2 and all that. That's why I'm thinking, based on him, Night Eye being All Might's number 2, that it probably would have been him. I can't think of anyone else who would have stepped up. Like you said, the next one could have been Bakugo, and I don't think he deserves it. So I don't think it would have been him.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been him.
So there's really no one else to give it to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else on that episode before we move on?
Was this the same episode too when they just like show them doing their powers and stuff and like
like in the training thing.
Yeah. I think that was cool. It's just like a cool montage of just like everybody using their quirk to help them get a better score and whatever it is. Like the one pervert.
Are we still
guy.
talking about the exam now? Is that what you mean?
Not the exam, like when Aizawa tells them to do all the tests.
Yeah, it's like them to get the best score and stuff.
And Bakugo uses his explosion to go faster, and
like even all it's like Ida obviously does good in like the dash and all that stuff, and the belly guy he does the jump really well because he just blasts himself. Like it's all those little things.
But didn't he end up losing though?
Yeah, I think. He not everyone gets.
I think he ran out. He said, "I can only do it for so long."
Yeah,
he ran out of his beam.
I just think it's like a funny scene of just like everybody. It's all these things that you would do in like a PE class, but it's just
this
like
is true.
They're like, it's like them thinking about like the one guy with the the purple balls and stuff like that. He does like the side show.
Oh yeah,
like, it's just so funny.
No, it was. It makes me think about Eraserhead, and he could have done that same thing. I mean, he waited until Bakugo was about to attack Midoriya before he wrapped him up and used his erasing quirk on him. He could have did it to Bakugo. I mean, the same argument he says about Midoriya and why he waits or why he does it to Midoriya could have also been done to Bakugo. Yet he doesn't do that.
Yeah, I think that's always weird too. It's like he just gets singled out so fast when they're all doing that and all these things. Like, it's like, what?
It could be a writing technique.
Yeah.
Because in a way, your hero, and that has to be, the story is about Midoriya.
Yeah.
He becomes the world's _1 hero. Well, your hero has to go through all these catastrophes.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be just the writing implementation of that's another catastrophe that he has to overcome.
Well,
and that's what it could be. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Isn't it kind of too, he might notice that is like one for all, you know, like, because of his like his like sight is like his strong point, and even though he like sees it like activate, that's why he's like, that looks like All Might's power, even though like All Might doesn't do that when he uses his power.
Do you think he actually recognized it at that point?
The only reason I could think.
He said like he singled out Midoriya because he reminded him of a hero that.
Yeah, there you go.
He reminded him of All Might.
So then that could.
That's why.
And he was kind of, I don't want to say pure anti All Might, but he definitely had different philosophy.
He got annoyed at All Might because he was like all in the spotlight, and most of his career was based on the spotlight, not like what Aizawa does.
Fake news.
Aizawa does like at night, like no one knows him, like no one in the class knew him, and he does stuff like hidden in the shadows type.
He's like a ninja.
So that means if he used that reason to stop Midoriya, that's jealousy because he sees All Might in Midoriya, and I don't like All Might, so therefore I'm gonna.
Yeah.
That's not really rational. Though I get his point.
Or he's confused because it's, you know, no one knows how, you know, it's like no one knows Midoriya's power. I mean, they know he has a quirk, but I think he might just be curious of how he, you know, might have this, you know, hero's power because I just feel like he knows it's All Might's power, and that's not like how the quirks work. You don't just, unless like maybe you're the person's like kid or something, but it's like that's just not how it works. No one besides like All Might, Midoriya, and anyone through the, you know, One for All and all that stuff knows how it like passes on and all that. So maybe he's just like, that's like strange, you know, like, I mean, because he did kind of cheat, you know, he got his powers later in life and all that. So,
well, okay, since you brought that up, how is that cheating any more than all the ones who inherited that power?
Word,
no, I mean, he was abnormal in the sense that he didn't have a quirk.
Yeah,
and isn't that the case for All Might as well? He didn't have a quirk.
Yeah, he didn't.
Huh?
He didn't.
So it's he was abnormal in that sense.
Yeah.
So.
I guess, I mean, in All Might's case, they just don't think that far back. So seeing a new case like this, they're still wondering how that happens. You know, it's just like
I get Bakugo because he actually was raised with Midoriya, and
he doesn't like him either way.
Nothing. Yeah, it's true, and that only makes it worse. That exacerbates his jealousy of him and makes him want to be even more of a bully.
Yeah,
the beginning of this show is really why I don't like Bakugo, although he is starting to change. I'll give it to you, Autumn, but I just don't like his. He's just too much of a bully.
Yeah.
And even when Midoriya was a little squeak, he was a bully to him.
And this part is like the beginning. I only pick up on this because I like Bakugo, but this like whole like Aizawa test thing is kind of the start of Bakugo realizing that he's not the best.
Yeah.
Because like he sees like Todoroki and Yaoyorozu, and he sees all like Uraraka get like the infinity on the ball thing.
Yeah.
And totally beat his score.
That's a good point.
And he just starts realizing he's not the best because like all throughout his childhood he was the best. Everyone kept telling him he was the best, and that won't go far once you realize there's people that are better.
Yeah.
I think that's high school. I mean, because when I was in grade school, all the way up till 8th grade, I was great at baseball. I wasn't the best, but I was one of the best. And then when I got to high school, everything changed. There was so much more that was at least as good as me,
Yeah.
if not much better than me.
The big fish in a little pond.
Yes, and I think that's high school, and I think maybe he was experiencing that little high school where you learn that you're not all that you think you are.
True. That is his story. You don't even see Todoroki in
You see him, he doesn't talk.
I know, that's so
I think
sad.
that's so funny too, that like I know they can't show so much of like everybody, and he is such a big character, but it's like for him to be who he is, when you get to see him and stuff, that why wouldn't he have been in the front? Like, it's like why wouldn't they be like, whoa, who's that guy? Because
no, showing off his quirks.
Yeah.
I agree with that, but also I think his demeanor, he is kind of quiet.
I don't think he wanted to be seen.
yeah, but it's like anytime he uses his powers, it like takes over everything. Anyways, he's like skating on ice,
and like
everywhere.
what they would know is just the ice, not the fire.
True,
it would just
yeah,
be ice.
and they're not like fighting each other, so it's
Yeah.
like he would just slip by, I guess.
Well, Todoroki is the best, and we'll have to wait to talk more about him. But
Yeah.
he would kick Bakugo's butt if he could use both his powers. Anyways,
Maybe just one.
no, he actually loses to him with just one. Remember, in
Spoiler alert! No, it's
this whole damn podcast is a spoiler
Yeah.
alert. If you haven't seen that, I'll recognize that now. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Anything else, or shall we move on?
No.
nah, yeah, we're good on this one.
All right, episode 6, Rage, You Damn Nerd. It's kind of a perfect title.
Wait, one more thing before we get. Did the episode we just talked about? Not the next one. Did they have like the whole cafeteria scene? Was that one? It doesn't
Episode
really matter.
5. I don't think. Do you remember a cafeteria?
It's
scene?
not
Which
like
cafeteria scene.
they're just eating in the cafeteria. It's like
I
think
could have been.
yeah.
I don't know though.
All
It's either then or it's
Like the
after the
beginning.
Deki versus Kacha.
I don't.
It's one
I
of the
don't
two.
remember it.
I think it's after.
I'm older than both you two, so maybe I'm going senile, but I don't remember it.
I don't
think it
was
I
this
think it
episode.
comes. I think it comes afterwards.
There's like a part though in one of these where they explain kind of like the whole campus, and they're like, you can get gourmet food here for like cheap prices.
No, that's after.
That's-
That's after this fight.
Isn't it the Rush Cafe?
Yeah, it's the lunch rush.
Yeah, I was gonna say that hero is awesome. I don't think he's in anything else, but they just show him in his. I wrote his name down. Yeah, Lunch Rush. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like I just totally forgot about it. And I'm like, they can even bring that guy back.
We'll bring him back up when they actually we come to that scene. I'm
Okay,
sure you'll
all
see him. So, anyways, Rage, You Damn Nerd. I really thought you'd like that title. I really did. When I heard that title, I thought, hey, that's right
Yeah.
up Ryan's
Hits me
alley.
right in the heart.
All right. All my takes in the moment. Impressed Midoriya focused all for one into
One
his
for
fingertip.
all.
Did it again. One for all into his fingertip. Do you want to read it?
No.
You might do better. Midoriya's action not only receives praise from All Might, but Ochako as well. Bakugo is enraged, of course. It's his only personality right now. He is not only confused about Midoriya's new abilities, but enraged at the thought that Midoriya had been lying all their lives.
That's kind of reasonable though, like having your best friend.
No,
or-
that's assuming.
I know, but
He
still.
wasn't
Why would he
lying.
be doing that too?
Yes.
That'd be like, it's like this guy's life.
It's unreasonable,
Yeah.
but like just thinking someone doesn't have something and then they end up showing up.
This
Yeah.
is another example of how he's not a boy of the mind.
Yeah.
Had he been a person of the mind, he would have thought, well, maybe it's possible he just developed this. He never even gave that in consideration. All he did was got enraged
Yeah.
and pissed off, and that's how he's more emotional than a thinker. So I think this is another example of how Bakugo, he's not the perfect combo like we talked about earlier. My opinion. Anyways, where did I leave off at? He's not only confused about Midoriya's new abilities, but enraged at the thought that Midoriya had been lying all their lives. There we go. Bakugo lashes out in anger at Midoriya, but is caught in Mr. Izawa's capture weapon. Well, a Eraserhead. Mr. Izawa warns that the students not to make him use his quirk too much because it causes dry eye. Maybe that's why his eyes are so red.
Yeah,
It's not
Well, he
because
does use the eye droppers.
I always thought it's because he was smoking weed. I guess I'm wrong. Then he moves. I knew I had some teachers who did that. Then he moves on to the present test results, which has Midoriya placed last. Midoriya fears that despite his hard work, he has failed out of the class anyways. But this is dispelled when Mr. Aizawa reveals the expulsion rule was a ruse and to bring out the best in the class. He dismisses the class and has Midoriya sent to recovery girl to heal his finger. Afterwards, All Might confronts his pupil's teacher, calling him a liar because he had once expelled an entire class. Eraserhead explains that Midoriya is above the 0 mark, and he can expel anyone who drops below the 0 mark at any time. Recovery Girl heals Midoriya's finger, but at the cost of his stamina. The first day of school ends, and an exhausted Midoriya runs to Tenya and Ochako, realizing that he has made some friends at school. The next day, Class 1A goes through a normal day of class until they reach their Hero Basic Training class. Sounds like the Marines, Hero Basic Training.
Yeah.
All Might leads the class to combat training, where they will get a chance to wear their hero costumes for the first time. After the class changes into their costumes, they gather at Grounds B and the very same training area where the practical test for the entrance exam was held. All Might goes through the rules, and the class will be broken into teams of 12, half heroes and half villains. Villains will guard a nuclear weapon that they intend on deploying, and the heroes must stop their scheme. If the heroes capture the villains or reach the nuclear core before time runs out, they win. If the villains manage to keep the nuclear core the whole time, or they capture the heroes, they win. If I'm a villain, I would just use the damn nuke.
Yeah.
I've been done with it all.
Save this.
The teams are drawn from lots, and All Might announces that Team A, Midoriya and Ochako, will face Team D, Bakugo and Tenya. Team D heads inside first and finds... is that it? I missed a page? Oh, I don't have any more.
That's all right. And finds a new quirk.
We can remember what happened.
Yeah, because that's when they go out and they basically have that showdown with each side.
Yeah, it's the beginning.
I know what happened. Basically, what happened was he.
Yeah, we got the expert right here. Come on.
What happens is Deku and Uraraka go in, and it first starts out with Bakugo and Ida in the room with the nuke, and Ida goes through like an coming moment of, okay, I'm just gonna act like the villain, stereotypical villain, and then Bakugo just does not care, and then he goes on and tries to find Deku, like only Deku, and then Midoriya kind of catches on that he's going after him, and then sends Uraraka to go deal with Ida while he deals with Bakugo, and they kind of have a little fight.
That's when he gets, because he like jumps him basically.
Yeah, he comes through, and
yeah.
then, yeah.
And that's when, isn't that when Midoriya gets like the throw on him? Or is that like after they're like confronted?
No, that's after. The first time he just starts like runs away and he tries to find him.
So he does throw him in this episode though.
Yeah,
that's
he
like
does.
the big
He
thing.
anticipates it because he's been studying. I mean, I found the page.
And that's again, the study, where he
yes, exactly.
he took notes of his classmates.
Still confused, Bakugo asks Tenya about Midoriya's quirk, and Tenya replies with a question of why Bakugo hates Midoriya so much. 5 minutes pass and Team A enters the building, but before getting too far, they are attacked by Bakugo. His sneak attack only manages to damage half of Midoriya's mask, and later was able to evade while saving Ochako. Bakugo attacks again, but Midoriya catches his swing. Then Midoriya shoulder tosses the surprised Bakugo to the ground, garnering praise from his fellow classmates watching from the projection room with All Might. Midoriya reveals that he's been taking notes on Bakugo for years with the same notebook that later burned. No, that would be what earlier burned.
Yeah.
Midoriya knew that he starts every fight with the right hook and was able to counter. Midoriya doesn't back down from Bakugo, telling his former bully that he is no longer the weak and defenseless Deku. Infuriated at his audacity, Bakugo voices his hatred of Midoriya. And that ends the episode at a very crucial point. It makes you want to watch the next episode. So what did you guys think of this one?
That's cool. Has the most action.
I think it's like, I guess like not really terrifying, but kind of like a scary moment where it's like you have like kind of someone that's been close to you, not a best friend, but like someone close to you, and just the moment realizing that they know what you're gonna do and anticipate your next actions. I think that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
It also, are you talking about
Midoriya knowing that he starts a fight with
Yeah,
the
it
red
counters
Yeah.
Bakugo.
that should tell once again that Bakugo is not a thinker.
Yeah.
Because had he been a thinker, he would not have allowed that mistake to get by. I mean, and it shows that Midoriya is a thinker and using his knowledge to counter him. I think, once again, we've shown why Midoriya is actually a better hero, even at this stage, than Bakugo is. I do also like the fact that when Ida was up there and he was tapping the nuclear bomb, he said that he didn't like playing a villain, but that he would go all out if he was going to do that. I like the fact he was stating his ethics at that point. He said, "I believe in being good." Now, even though that is my running core, I'm going to do the best I can at this play acting.
Yeah.
I really like how that showed his character a little bit. See, there's a little morality in this story that comes out in little hidden corners every once in a while, and I think that was one of them as well. It makes me kind of like Ida more.
Yeah, I forget how big of a character he is. I mean, he's like literally, it's like Midoriya's like first friend, I guess, and in the school and stuff like that, or at least a person they're friends. I mean, they keep talking, so.
I think he's the most Japanese.
Oh, totally.
I really believe that Ida is the most Japanese.
Yeah.
The way he bends over and bows all the time, and
just straight A, top of the class, or trying to be everything polite. Yeah, of course.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's
just
a
I
very
think it's
stereotype, so.
Yeah, I see him acting in that way that it comes out to me. I mean, 'cause they don't look Japanese to me, but his actions, it really comes out. And well, what did you think, Autumn?
I don't know. Like everyone kind of forgets Ida, and he's in pretty much every arc that's been animated besides season 4, like the first part of season 4. He's been in like every arc. He like helped with the Bakugo rescue, the sports festival. Stain was his arc. It's like everyone kind of sleeps on Ida.
Yeah, that's why I like seeing the beginning. I was like, yeah, he was there right from the jump too. Like right when the school opens up, it's like he's the first one that talks to Midoriya and all that. And yeah, you're right. He's just he gets a lot of screen time and stuff. I guess it's just because besides like the Stain stuff, it's like maybe just because he just runs.
Yeah.
It's like, but he is funny when he's just being, again, like you're saying, like he's just like ultra polite. That's his like plus ultra, and it just never shuts off. So
No, that's if you're going to have a quirk like that, then that's a good one to have. I want to know why they didn't show him racing in the dash or whatever it is they were doing. I don't know, a 50-yard dash, whatever the distance was.
Well, they kind of showed him running, and
I didn't see him winning. He would have kicked everyone's ass.
Oh,
in
he
that
definitely won.
Yeah, he said he could only use his like one of his gear, like something with his gears. He only talked about how he could only go up to like something gear. I don't know. I guess obviously because he's not as strong as he is like later in the show with his speed.
I just think he should have showed him against Bakugo, and I think he would have beat Bakugo because Bakugo used his quirk in a way that propelled him, and his engines and his calves, I think, would have beat him.
So how the thing with their costumes always confused me too, because it's like, are they just given the costumes?
Okay,
or
I know how this works.
Yeah.
The expert.
Yeah.
They basically send in, they make like I guess designs and like character sheets for like the costumes they want, and they draw them up, and then they basically send it to a costume company, and they make the designs come to life. Basically, they like write what they want.
What's that one hero, the Gene guy, or I
Best
think it's
Gene
a girl.
is?
Yeah. It's like that person probably does it all, and I don't, just because he like uses
What, at the Levi's store?
Yeah.
He is the. I mean, as far as a quirk goes, that is the worst. That is one of the.
It's funny.
One of the bad ones.
Well, he can use it actually pretty well.
Yeah, he shut Bakugo up with it.
He got Bakugo in jeans. I think that's pretty impressive.
That's very true. I just think it's funny where they, I mean, I guess like in a lot of other like hero stuff, they're just given like a uniform. But since these are all so specific to each character, it's just like you never see them have like a choice in it, really. They're just like, oh, here's your bunny outfit.
Here it
and
is.
Here's your, here's a couple grenades
It's
you're
like
going to put on your
you
arm.
may not like Bakugo, but you have to at least give him credit for like burning that bunny mask. I
Yeah.
hate that mask.
Oh yeah, if
It's
there was a
so
version
bad.
of this show where he just had that still, and like every time
Oh,
he
God.
went out,
he
it's
like
let's go.
yeah, no,
it would
he
be a
still
totally different
has
show.
it. He just doesn't put it up.
Yeah.
and that's like keep it like that.
It's like a cape almost for him. But I do like his like like his mouthpiece.
The
thing.
guard, I like the
that's
guard.
cool.
I just don't like the
See,
hood.
Until this second time of viewing it, I didn't realize that smile was all much smile on that face mask.
Oh
You
yeah,
totally
got me at all.
That went right over my head.
Yeah, see, me too, until I saw it the second time. Well, All Might points it out. With the bunny ears looks like his hair, and then the smile, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, so...
And I like how no one questions it after he says it's so
true.
obvious.
That's funny.
What I questioned was, if it wasn't for the mother making that costume for Midoriya, would he have walked out there naked?
Well,
No
he would
one-
have
he-
his
No,
PE clothes
because,
at least. Come on, it's a
he-
school.
But what happened with that? He was gonna send in a design, but his mom did it first, and he took the design his mom. Okay, so he already had one. He was gonna send
But-
it in, but he
okay,
took his mom's one.
He didn't know his mom did it,
Yeah,
so he should have sent...
he
the
was
des-
about to, like literally about to send it in.
Isn't that a
and
bit
she
late?
came.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys working overtime tonight. I need this tomorrow. FedEx it to me.
That's funny.
But with the costumes thing, it actually like went into like I don't remember any of the makers of them, but it does stuff like some characters their costumes are made by the same companies, so they have like details on them from the companies
Like
as
sponsors
like
and stuff.
it's like trademark
Like European hockey players, they got the sponsor on there.
Yeah.
for Bakugo and Uraraka. Their both their costumes are from the same company, so I think they have like dots or something on both of their costumes
Okay.
to show it. And I think Jaku and Todoroki have the same company.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that.
If you like look at their costumes, there's like something they have the same, and it's like the same company.
Did you ever watch Tiger and Bunny?
No.
It's like it's kind of similar. It's about like superheroes and stuff, but they lean in more on like the sponsorships and stuff like that, and like their costumes in that are like it's like you got to get with like the Pepsi Cola or the Coca-Cola of this like world, and you'll get this sweet suit and stuff. Even if you have powers, but they want like the money back in it. They just get into it more. That's
It's
all
all
I'll say.
mascot. It's
yeah,
all mascot.
it is very much like that. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, since we're going to talk about to end this, and we're going to talk about their costumes, just the students, who has the best costume?
I'll say I don't like Ida's costume. Ida's and what's his?
If you don't like it, how could it be the best?
Well, I'm just going from. I'm trying to think back because some of people's are just like I think too much. Where it's like even like Bakugo's is like his is cool. I don't really like the grenade things. Like I get that's like his power. They're exploding, but they're just so. I would think that would get in the way so much. And
the way how big they are.
yeah,
Yeah,
they just look so.
It's more for
awkward.
show.
Yeah,
It is.
And like, I'm just picking out a lot of bad things. And like Ida, he's like a knight, and that's kind of like the belly guy too. He looks, I don't even know what to say with his, but it's like some I just like I don't understand the design of it, but I don't know. I guess go around. I'll think.
How about you, Adam? What do you think?
For the kids, like the students.
Yeah, just the class.
Yeah, just the class. I like Kirishima, Bakugo's, and Kaminari's. Kaminari's the one, the lightning rod guy. I like
idiot.
his
We used the
jacket.
idiot as a lightning
Yes,
rod?
That guy. I like his jacket, and he has like this choker. And
Yeah.
his, like the arm things. And Kirishima is the redhead. He has like the gears on him and the cape.
Well, I know
thing.
who
Yeah, I like his.
Koboshima is. Yeah,
And I
know.
like Bakugo's. So.
I figured you'd say Bakugo. Who's the girl that can do things out of her chest?
Yarorozu.
I love her outfit.
It's like a school outfit almost. What's that's Red Riot. Is that
Yeah.
because I like his like fits him so well,
Yeah.
especially with his power. It, like just everything kind of mixes good with his.
Just like with Bakugo, I don't like the headdress. If it wasn't for Bakugo's that little things that are coming out of his
You
head.
mean
He's
his
just-
like mask?
yeah,
thing?
that
I
whole
like his
mask
mask.
thing. I just
I like the
other than
mask.
that, I do like.
Well, his
Kiroshima's-
makes sense because his quirk's hardening, so he'll rip through his clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's no point.
Yeah.
And the reason there's actually a reason later on in like season 3 when he gets like the sleeves. There's like a reason for that. He got the sleeves because he like tried to save a little girl, but like every time he tried to grab her with the quirk, it would like cut her. So he
Oh.
got the sleeves so it wouldn't cut.
That makes
people.
sense. Yeah, can't do that.
Once again, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
See, she's the number one
She is, yeah.
My Hero expert.
Anytime I'm like, what is that? Yeah, Midoriya is like without the
His
without,
new one is
yeah,
good. I
like,
like
he
his
fits
new one.
his-
See,
so
that's
well.
why I didn't bring up Midoriya's because I think
Yeah.
his is better when later on in the
When he gets the Air Force one, the gloves, the new
Yeah.
gloves, like his recent one, I
You're-
like that one.
I
I
agree.
always forget all the stuff they like kind of add to it too.
I
I'm like,
agree.
You
You
could tell what phase Midoriya's on based on his gloves.
If we want to bring up all the way to the end, then I would take Midoriya. But
Yeah.
as of right now,
It's very
I like
plain. It's
Yeah.
very plain.
Todoroki's too, but not his first one. His
see,
second
once again,
one.
that's why I didn't say Todoroki is my favorite, but his first
I don't
outfit
like
really
it.
is kind of blah.
Yeah, he
and-
like uses his
The
power
ice
for
to
his.
cover-
It's like that's
Yeah.
no one made that. You just did.
Yeah,
You know,
it's-
They just
yeah.
gave you a shirt.
Yeah. you're just wearing the gym clothes.
Yeah, and cover, does he cover half up with ice, and
Yeah,
that's all it
because
he
is?
doesn't
Yeah,
like
but that's
the-
like he's doing that.
Yeah.
yes, exactly. So yeah, there's no sponsor there.
Yeah, it's like if Bakugo had like sleeves and he just like blew them off. He's like, yeah, I made them. You know? I don't know. Gravity. I always forget her name.
Uravity.
Uravity. Hers is cool because it's like a astronaut almost.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's like I just like when the theme to their costume fits like their ability
their quirk.
in like a subtle way. It's always pretty cool.
Oh,
so.
speaking of that, you know his name's Saro, but he's the tape arm guy.
Yeah.
His
This is cool.
helmet.
The fake Spider-Man.
His helmet is you know, like the tape.
Yeah.
things? It's that.
Oh, okay. He always looked like a Mega Man character to me or something like that. But
See, he always reminded me of Spider-Man, except for
Yeah.
instead of come out of the wrist, it comes out of his elbows.
Yeah,
I'm
they
Spider-Man
they
from
made
the elbows.
they made like a reference to that in like the book, like the Deku Notebook, whatever. It said like he was inspired by a hero in New York. So
oh,
it was a
okay, that makes
reference.
sense. Yeah, I think the funniest thing with a lot of the costumes though too is even, and this is where again I bring up with the Bakugo thing. It's just like there's so many people's costumes, and this happens even in like Marvel and all that, where it's usually a lot of like helmets and stuff like that, where they just are so problematic because these people like are, you know, they need to talk and they need to be a part of the story. It's like whenever they get into fight, that's the only thing that gets destroyed because, you know, you need to see their face and they need to be like talking. That's like with Ida, like he barely uses his helmet a lot. It's like never on him. And even with like just a lot of those characters that have things that just always aren't, it's like if they had their full costume, that's like very rare. It's like usually there's a lot of things missing from it, and it's usually because of a fight. But I just always think it's funny because that happens through the whole show. So why just not wear it? You know?
I think we should devote one episode on coming up with the perfect sponsor for each one. Like Todoroki would be Icy Hot.
yeah.
I just have
They
that
would
on
have
his-
to.
Yes,
You can't pick anyone else. You know?
It's true. It's got to be him. I mean, he'd make the perfect commercial.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a very interesting podcast. Maybe one day in the future we'll do that.
Yeah.
So, anyone have anything else to say before we say goodbye?
No, I'm good.
Oh, well, thanks for listening. We totally appreciate every listener we get. You can listen to us on anchor.fm and just about anywhere you can get your podcast. I suppose if you're listening to it, you're already getting it from there.
Yeah.
You
Spread
can
the
also-
word, you know?
Yes, please do. And you can also see us on YouTube and look up the Plus Ultra My Hero name and also the Old Person's Channel Facebook. So
Hey, you gotta hit all demographics. You know?
I'm trying to get her to do a Snapchat. Get us
There you go.
into the youth market.
Probably get like some what are they, the face things, you know, maybe there's a My Hero one.
There
Like
used to be.
I was gonna say there had to have been
when
one.
the
Sure, yeah.
movie came out, there were like
Oh, yeah.
filters, and you
Filters,
got
that's
to
it, that's the
pick
word.
between like Midoriya, Bakugo, and like Uraraka. So I picked Bakugo.
Okay, that's a good
It like
choice.
blew up and stuff, so like, whatever.
So anyways, thanks for tuning in, and we hope to tune in next time. Take care.
Plus Ultra.
Go beyond.
Go